He was a broke, orphaned boy who joined a legendary assassin group and became an overpowered hero capable of destroying an entire city. Tatsumi was a lonely, pathetic loser who went on a journey to the capital city to become the next best thing after sliced bread. On his way there, the earth sprouted an ugly-looking beast that attacked his carriage. Tatsumi jumped out and sliced up the beast, saving his companions. He quickly showed his disgusting degenerate side when the men thanked him. Then he told them about every poor boy's dream to become something meaningful in the imperial capital. The guys warned him about the capital and said that there were worse monsters there. And by monsters, they meant the citizens who were worse than customer service agents. He arrived in the capital and headed straight to the barracks, where he was told to start out as an underpaid intern. But he tried to prove himself. The manager kicked him out and told him that they had no time for broke pieces of garbage like him. While pondering about his useless situation, he gets overshadowed by a blonde girl's huge melons. Tatsumi then took her to a tavern, where he spent all his money on her, while he hoped to get some information about work from her. He handed over all his life savings to her when she said that she would be able to bribe an officer to give him some work. By evening, Tatsumi realized he had been swindled and had to spend the rest of the night on the streets. A young girl named Arya approached him and offered him a place in her home so they could bang all through the night. Tatsumi arrived at Arya's mansion, where he found out that he wasn't the first plaything to be brought home by her. He explained to Arya and her parents that he was waiting for his friends, Ieyasu and Sayo, who got separated from him after they got attacked by bandits. The next day, he found out how much of a rich and spoiled brat Arya was when they went shopping. He found out from one of the guards that the emperor was a little boy who was being controlled by the prime minister, who liked to toy with little children. The guard also told him about Night Raid, a group of assassins who had been terrorizing the imperial capital and attacking their victims at night. When nightfall came, Night Raid appeared at the manor and killed Arya's parents and the guards. Tatsumi rushed to Arya's side and had to face Akame, but his presence wasn't acknowledged as Akame ignored him like a waste. Leone, who swindled Tatsumi earlier, showed up and watched the fight between him and Akame. She then revealed that Arya and her parents were known for torturing countryside people inside their shed. There, Tatsumi saw Sayo's dead body hanging, and Ieyasu said that it was Arya who tortured Sayo and killed her. Arya revealed her crazy nature, and Tatsumi sent her to her maker. Ieyasu then died due to poison. Tatsumi was then dragged to join Night Raid by Leone against his will. After burying his friends, Tatsumi gets smothered by Leone's melons and taken off to meet the other members of Night Raid. After meeting Sheila, he concluded that the entire group was filled with mentally disturbed people. The little girl with pink hair, mine, who looked like she would turn on degenerates like you,
yeah, boy,
walked into the room and said that Tatsumi was too ugly to work with them. After that, he went to the training grounds where he met Bulat, who was ready to push his sausage down Tatsumi's throat at any given moment. He also met Lubbock, who was a complete degenerate, and Akame, who grew up as a savage in the wild. Later on, he met Najenda, the leader of the Night Raid group, who told him to join them since the only other choice he had was to become an underpaid slave. Najenda explained that they were part of the anti-imperial force known as the Revolutionary Army, and their aim was to overthrow the empire and establish a new nation in its place. Tatsumi decided to join them after Najenda said that his pockets wouldn't be so empty anymore. Akame was then assigned to babysit and train the pathetic ugly boy, but Tatsumi ended up as a chef for the rest of the team. After that, he went fishing with Akame, who didn't hesitate to strip and blessed his eyes with her jugs. Tatsumi joined her in the water, but was barely able to catch a reasonable amount of fish. Leone reported intel about a corrupt imperial officer known as Ogre, who was fond of framing innocent people for crimes after he collected bribes from Gamal, an oil merchant. Thanks to Tatsumi's loud, obnoxious mouth, he was assigned to take out Ogre, while Akame and Leone were told to assassinate Gamal. Later in the day, Leone told Tatsumi that Akame and her sister were bought by the Empire and trained to be assassins. It was Najenda who convinced her to join the Revolutionary Army. At night, Tatsumi lured Ogre to a lonely place and begged like a peasant to be let into the Imperial Army. With Ogre's back turned, he launched a surprise attack on the ugly brute. Tatsumi let down his guard and started getting slapped around by his target. Ogre got arrogant, which boosted Tatsumi's plot armor, and he got killed by the boy. Tatsumi reported back to Najenda and tried to brag about his victory over Akame. As Akame stripped him, he thought he was about to get lucky for the night, but she just wanted to make sure that he had no injuries. Akame then accepted him as a member of Night Raid. Tatsumi promised to build a stronger relationship with her, hoping to clap her cheeks one day.
Yeah, boy.
Then he got assigned to his next babysitter, which was mine. Later on, Najenda dispatched her team to take down 8 assassins who were trying to invade their hideout. Bulat revealed his relic, Incursio, to Tatsumi, which made him look like a second-hand creepy Power Ranger. While everyone encountered male assassins, Lubbock came across a female who he killed, but regretted that he wasn't able to lay down the pipe in her. After taking out the enemies, Tatsumi was troubled by Bulat's creepy face at night. The next morning he was sent to get Mine out of bed since she was wasting a lot of time. He walked in on her getting dressed up, and she tried to blast his head off because he looked at her flat-screen chest. While walking through the streets, Tatsumi noticed that the citizens didn't have any spark of life in them. He and Mine came across a little girl getting drilled by 2 ugly thugs and saved her. Mine told the girl to stop being such a pathetic weakling and learn to protect herself. After that, they came across a wanted poster of Bulat, where he still looked like a reasonable person. Tatsumi spent the rest of the day as Mine's slave while he followed her around as she shopped for clothes. He started complaining, but Mine stomped down on him in a way that would get degenerates turned on.
Oh my!
She told him that she didn't have hopes for someone as unfortunate as him. Tatsumi noticed the citizens gathering at a place where he came across people who had been executed by the Prime Minister, Honest. The Emperor carried out orders from Honest, who was manipulating the naive young boy. The person who was to be executed, Shui, tried to tell the Emperor that he was being controlled by Honest, but the poor boy didn't have a single brain cell that could think for itself. As Shui was carried off, Honest promised to bang his wife in his absence.
What? What the fuck?
Later on, Najenda sends her team members to kill Yokal, a distant blood relative of Honest, who tortured and kidnapped women. As they got to Yokal's mansion, Tatsumi saw Mine's Imperial Relic Sniper Pumpkin, which increased its destructive power depending on how much trouble its user was in. Without delay, she shot the target between the eyes despite the presence of his entourage. Yokal's guards searched for their master's killer but ran into the rest of the Night Raid members. Meanwhile, Tatsumi had another one of his degenerate fantasies fulfilled when Mine used him as leverage to climb up a wall. Mine then told Tatsumi about the abusive childhood she experienced because of her half-foreign blood. She ran away to the Revolutionary Army in hopes that no one else would experience the horrors that she went through. They suddenly got ambushed by one of the 5 guards who had escaped from the other members. Tatsumi held down the guard, giving Mine the opportunity to blast a hole through his chest. He then got upset because Mine nearly added to his misfortune by making him bald because she grazed his hair with her shot. The next day, Tatsumi was being trained by Bulat, who was inappropriately touching the poor boy. Akame came to his rescue and told him that it was time to make breakfast. After making it, Akame quickly ate the food meant for Mine and Sheila. Meanwhile, Najeda received intel from a wounded soldier. Back at their hideout, she told her teammates about their next target, Zank, who was known for beheading his targets. Tatsumi was fired up to take him down, but Bulat once again harassed the poor boy, which made him ponder who was the real threat to his life. Najenda then told Tatsumi about the origin of Imperial relics. They were forged by the first emperor 1,000 years ago, and the power of one was said to rival the strength of 1,000 men. One of those relics was Akame's sword, Murasame, which could poison its target with the slightest cut. Another one was Lionel, the beast ruler relic that Leon wore, which heightened her senses and turned her into a furry beast. Shell's large pair of scissors known as Extase was also an imperial relic said to cut through anything. After that long, boring college lecture, Najeda also told him that Zank possessed an imperial relic, but they weren't sure of its powers. Tatsumi wanted his own relic as well, but he had to wait until fate smiled upon his useless life. Later at night, Tatsumi and Akame paired up to look for Zank in the streets. Meanwhile, Zank was at a high point in the city and saw all the members of Night Raid. He decided to target Tatsumi first and make him his plaything. Tatsumi got lured away by an illusion of Sayo, hoping to get laid for the night. Sadly, he was caught in Zank's trap. Zank used his relic, Spected, which gave him the ability to predict his opponent's thoughts and actions, to fend off Tatsumi's attacks. Tatsumi continued swinging his sword around like a maniac, but they were as ineffective as his Riz skills. Akame soon arrived to help the pathetic idiot. Zank used his relic to take a peek at Akame's undergarments because he couldn't control his urges. Tatsumi watched as the two relic wielders fought at a level that he had never seen before. Zank asked Akame how she handled the voices of the people she killed, but she said she wasn't lunatic like him. He then tried to trick her by creating an illusion of her younger sister, Kurome. Akame didn't hesitate to kill the illusion, then proceeded to slash Zank's neck. Zank thanked her for making the voices in his head stop rambling, while Tatsumi acknowledged how pathetic he was through the fight. The next day, Tatsumi asked Akame who she saw in the illusion, but she said that she'd tell him when the time was right. When Tatsumi woke up from a bad dream, he saw Shili, the airheaded clumsy girl, who told him that she was his next mentor. Lubbock asked Najeda if it was okay to let Shili tutor Tatsumi, and she assured him that Tatsumi was a lady magnet. Meanwhile, Tatsumi was trying to swim in heavy armor. Shili explained that she had time to train him because she was completely useless at every other task assigned to her. Her glasses dropped from her face, and she started playing the role of an aroused Velma from Scooby-Doo. Sheila told Tatsumi that she had been a klutz right from her childhood, and everyone thought she had a few loose screws in her head. She was able to make friends with a girl who treated her nicely. One night, while at her house, the girl's ex-boyfriend came to the place and started strangling her because he got dumped. Without a second thought, Sheila sent the guy to the pearly gates and saved her friend, but the girl was distraught. Later on, the guy's friends came to avenge him, but Sheila tore through them with a calm mind and realized that she was more deranged than people had thought. After that, Tatsumi tried to use the Imperial relic, Spected, that they got from Zank. As he activated the relic's ability, he saw through the dresses of the girls before the relic rejected him. Unknown to her that she was just defiled again, Mine insulted Tatsumi for being lame. Najeda said the relic would be sent to the Revolutionary Army, given the fact that Night Raid also had the task to collect all of the Imperial relics. Najeda handed him a book containing information about all the relics they had gathered so far. Najeda said the relic that controlled ice was most likely the strongest, but its wielder, Esdeath, was far away trying to stop the Northern race from attacking the Empire. However, Tatsumi was upset to find out that there wasn't a relic that could bring back the dead. At night, he cried while kneeling beside the grace of his friends, and Sheila comforted him with her jugs. Meanwhile, Esdeath had defeated the Northern race and turned their hero, Numaseka, into a pathetic dog. The next day, while he walked through the marketplace with Leone, a group of guys ran towards them because Leone was in debt. At the palace, the Prime Minister requested that Esdeath return to the capital to deal with Night Raid, since the fatso was too engrossed in acquiring more calories. While Tatsumi ran away, he got separated from Leone and got approached by Seryu, who was an Imperial officer. He noticed her Imperial relic, Hekatoncheir, a dumb-looking dog, which she named Koro. Seryu grabbed Tatsumi's hand to lead him back to the marketplace, and he looked like he was going to burst. After leading him back, Seryu ran off and swore to kill the members of Night Raid for the death of her mentor, Ogre. Tatsumi and Leone arrived at the capital's red light district. Leone activated her relic and carried Tatsumi like a damsel in distress and headed towards a temple. They were there to kill a group of drug smugglers who drugged a large group of women and used them to satisfy their degenerate fantasies. Leone got angry as she saw one of the guys punch a girl who she recognized from the slums. They broke into the room and took out all the guards and drug dealers. On their way back, Leone said she would talk to a doctor to help the drugged girls. Tatsumi said Leone was a nice lady, which made her lick his ear and get his sausage up. Meanwhile, Sheila and Mine were on their way back from a mission when they were confronted by Seryu. Mine fired her rifle at her, but the bullets were blocked by Koro, who revealed that he could grow bigger and regenerate. Sheila sliced the relic, but it just kept coming back after regenerating. Mine said that the only way to defeat a living relic was to destroy its core. At the same time, Koro grew muscular arms, making it look like an ugly, creepy-looking animal. It rushed at them with a flurry of punches, and Sheila blocked the attacks with her scissors. Seeing that the situation was dire, Mine fired her rifle with increased power, but Koro kept regenerating. Sheila rushed towards Seryu and fought her, while Mine kept Koro busy. Seryu got her arm sliced off but revealed hidden guns that were inside her arms. Shelly blocked the shot and sliced off the guns. Seeing that she was backed into a corner, Seryu released Koro's feral mode. It grabbed Mine and began crushing her little body as she let out happy noises. But Sheila came to her rescue. With her guard let down, Sheila got shot by Seryu's hidden gun, which was in her mouth. Mine watched the horror in front of her as Sheila got bitten half by Koro. A group of Imperial soldiers came to apprehend Mine, and Sheila used her last strength to unleash a blinding light, which allowed Mine to flee. Then Koro devoured Sheila as the memories of her team members flashed through her mind. The rest of the soldiers looked at the crazy Seryu as she laughed like a maniac after winning the battle. Back at Night Raid's hideout, the rest of the team members were shocked when Mine informed them about Sheila's death. Tatsumi wanted to get revenge immediately, but Bulat punched some sense into the idiotic boy and told him to stop embarrassing himself. Mine swore to defeat Seryu by herself to avenge her fallen friend. Later that night, Tatsumi felt Sheila's spirit embrace him one last time. Meanwhile, Esdeath had finally returned to the capital. The Emperor welcomed Esdeath and rewarded her for defeating the northern race. Honest was delighted at the fact that she had no interest in politics, which allowed him to continue ruling the empire from the shadows. Her next task was to take down Night Raid, and she requested a suitor whom she would bang forever as a reward. The Emperor offered Honest as a suitor, but Esdeath said the fatso would die from the calories before he lived to see another day. Meanwhile, Mine had to be fed by Akame because she couldn't use her broken arm to eat. Tatsumi was being used as a dishwasher, and he was surprised at how calm Akame was after the death of Sheila. Later at night, he met Akame carrying Shell's favorite sweets and questioned why she was so calm. Akame dropped the plate, grabbed Tatsumi, and started crying. He realized that just because she was holding her emotions in didn't mean that she didn't care about her fallen comrades. Tatsumi punched himself back to his senses and vowed never to die and make Akame cry again. The next day, the two of them sparred with wooden swords, and Tatsumi was losing more of his plot armor. Bulat showed up and became his opponent and continued his training. On the other hand, Esdeath dispatched the three beasts, Deodara, Liver, and Niao, an elite group of Imperial relic users, to take out Prime Minister Churi and his daughter, Spear. The group arrived at the location and slaughtered everyone, then spread flyers to frame Night Raid for the murder. Later on, Najida told her members that the Empire was trying to frame them for the deaths of the officials. She then told Leone to go to the capital and keep an eye on Esdeath's movement. After that, she sent Akame and Lubbock to a remote village, while Tatsumi and Bulat were sent to a luxury ship to protect the next possible targets. Tatsumi looked like a poor wretch among the elites who were on the ship, while Bulat remained invisible with his armor. Bulat explained that the capital dismissed his general when he was still an Imperial dog. The capital refused to hear the general's case, and Bulat was set up as a criminal as well. Thankfully, he was able to use the relic and escape. Leone, who had tracked Esdeath, had to run away like a wimp after she felt that Esdeath had set up a trap for her. Back on the cruise ship, Tatsumi was caught by Niao's Imperial relic, a flute that weakened anyone who heard its sound. As he resisted the sound and went outside, he got confronted by Daidara, who was a good-for-nothing meathead who just wanted to fight. Daidara used his relic, Belvark, which could split into two axes, boomerang, to lure in Tatsumi for a close attack. Bulat showed up and saved the idiotic boy before he got himself killed. As he unleashed his incursion, the three beasts attacked him at once. Bulat fended off the attacks and sliced Daidara in half. He then saw Liver, who he revealed was his former general. Liver revealed that he had become Esdeath's lapdog and used his Imperial relic, Black Marlin, which allowed him to control any form of liquid. Because of this, Liver had the greatest advantage because they were surrounded by the ocean. He aggressively threw his liquids at Bulat, who defended against the attack. Tatsumi then confronted Niao, who was about to aid Liver. Sadly, he could barely keep up with the weird cat boy because of how fast he was. Bulat was lured into the air, where he was defenseless, giving Liver the opportunity to launch an attack and break part of his armor. While fighting Liver, Bulat knocked Niao to the side because Tatsumi had been rendered useless. He and Liver had worn their relics out, and they couldn't use them anymore. Liver asked Bulat to join Esdeath's army and suck on her toes like him, but Bulat refused to be associated with the Empire anymore. The two of them decided to settle their fight using swords. Liver injected a chemical into his body to boost his strength before their fight started. Bulat was able to fatally wound Liver and break his sword, but the old man used his spilled blood to shoot holes through Bulat's body. Before dying, Liver revealed that he joined Esdeath's army because of his admiration for her and her huge jugs. Bulat found out that he had poisoned his blood with the chemical, and that blood was now in his system. Niao then used his flute to turn himself into a Giga Chad with gigantic muscles. Bulat then entrusted Incursio to Tatsumi, despite the fact that Niao was trying to dissuade him from using it. Tatsumi was able to activate the relic's power, which adapted itself to his meager body. With the suit's power and incredible plot armor, Tatsumi was able to defeat Niao. After the fight, Tatsumi cried beside the dead body of Bulat. Later on, Kuromi was summoned to the capital to be part of a new unit. As Mai noticed her arm was fully healed, she sprinted right back into action. Then she came across Tatsumi and Lubbock, who were doing push-ups with Akame and Leon on their backs. Mai didn't understand this new form of degenerate fantasy, and Tatsumi explained that he needed to build more physical strength to keep up the duration of Incursio for a longer time. Akame said that she and Leone were in different weight classes, basically calling the furry girl a fat piece of garbage, and Leone smacked her head. Najenda then tells them that she's leaving for the Revolutionary Army headquarters to deliver relics they seized from the three beasts, and also recruit new members to their team. She then put Akame in charge of the group as she left. Tatsumi felt it was his fault for Bulat's death, but Leone told him that Bulat believed that he would surpass him one day. Meanwhile, Esdeath went to the graves of her dead comrades and promised to avenge their deaths. In the capital city, Wave, who had been recruited to join Esdeath's new unit, did an awful job at trying to blend in the city. The repugnant stench of fish followed him as he carried a sack of them, and everyone else was bothered about his disturbing presence. He arrived at the conference room, where a creepy guy in a gas mask named Bowles was seated and waiting for the others. Wave finally got into the room and sat down, while Bowles kept staring at him as though he had slept with his wife. Kurome got into the room, and Wave tried to introduce himself but quickly found out that she was another crackhead with issues. Another guy, known as Dr. Stylish, who would have been the perfect sausage match for Bulat, came into the room and took a liking to Wave. The rest of the members arrived, and they were served some tea by Bowles, who revealed that he was an unreasonably shy person. Esdeath walked into the room with a weird mask and began attacking all of them to test their abilities. Kurome was able to shatter her mask and reveal her identity. With her as the leader, Esdeath named the unit Jaegers and said that their mission was to eliminate the enemies of the Empire. Later on, Wave and Bowles cooked dinner, while Esdeath informed the rest that she was hoping to fall in love and get clapped soon. In the city, Lubbock invited Tatsumi and Leone to his secret library. According to him, some years ago, a southwestern tribe rebelled against the Empire, and the Empire sent more than 100,000 troops to eliminate the tribe. However, due to the harsh terrain and nature of the land, the soldiers were easily overwhelmed by them. The Empire then dispatched Najenda and Esdeath as reinforcements. With Esdeath's power over ice, she froze a river, allowing their troops to quickly cross the border and take out the tribe. Najenda was disgusted by Esdeath's excessive cruelty and said she wouldn't be associated with such anymore. Lubbock then suggested that Tatsumi should enter Esdeath's martial arts tournament and win the cash reward to save his bleeding pockets and wretched village. At the palace, the Emperor concluded that Esdeath's prospects for a suitor were impossible to find, since she was looking for a young man to become her plaything. During the tournament, Tatsumi entered under the identity of a blacksmith and was matched with a weird-looking bull-headed opponent known as Kalbi. Tatsumi easily defended against Kalbi's attacks and wasn't fazed by his intimidating remarks. As he defeated his opponent, Esdeath became infatuated with the little boy. Esdeath looked like she had let out her juices when she made little happy noises after seeing Tatsumi's innocent smile. As Esdeath approached him, She put him in chains and took him to her chambers, where they would finally relieve each other of their purity. Back at Night Raid's hideout, Akame, Leon, Lubbock, and Mine discussed whether or not they should rescue Tatsumi. While the rest of the Jaegers went to destroy a fortress of bandits, Tatsumi and Esdeath sat together, where he was forced to watch from afar. He thought of running away, but her hands were firmly placed on his own. Seryu tested her new arm weapons that Dr. Stylish had made for her. They all quickly took care of the bandits and left the place in flames, leaving Tatsumi to be frightened of their prowess. Esdeath said that she would train Tatsumi, and he thought of using her love for him to bring her to his side. At night, after a hot shower, Esdeath wore a dress that left her jugs all over my screen and got ready for Tatsumi to feed her his sausage.
Yeah, boy.
Without a second thought, she kissed him and was about to make the first move. The scene got intensely steamy for the rest of you kids watching this. Tatsumi, being an irredeemable fool, stopped her and asked her to join him, but she slapped him and then licked his cheek. She promised to be his only lover and not cheat. Despite the hot milk jugs that were offered to him, Tatsumi still wanted her to join him. Esdeath refused to change for him and said that he was only there to serve her. This brain-dead idiot then ran away when she offered for them to sleep in the same bed. Esdeath promised that he would die if he caused any commotion or tried to run away. Tatsumi couldn't sleep through the night despite being smothered by the mother of milk jugs. The next day, Tatsumi found out that Kurome was Akame's sister, and they used to work for the Empire together. Esdeath then assigned Tatsumi and Wave to scout the western side of Mount Fake to hunt danger beasts. While out in the mountains, they were surrounded by a pack of tree monsters. In the middle of the battle, Tatsumi used Incursio to escape into the woods, but Wave followed him, using his relic, Grand Chariot. When he caught up to Tatsumi, he recognized Incursio as the prototype for his Grand Chariot. Tatsumi tried avoiding a fight, but he got smacked around instead. After getting kicked into the water, he used the armor's invisibility to flee. He was then confronted by a beast known as Jackaleo, but Akame came to his rescue. Their steamy session was cut short when Lubbock showed up and dragged them back into the mountains. Back at the palace, Wave suffered severe punishment from Esdeath for letting Tatsumi escape, but she still gave him another chance to redeem himself. Esdeath was still determined to bang Tatsumi, even if he showed up again as their enemy. Meanwhile, at Night Raid's hideout, Tatsumi informed his squad members about Esdeath and the Jaegers. Unknown to them, Dr. Stylish had tracked Tatsumi to their hideout. After a crazy night filled with alcohol, Leon went out to wash up her face when she got attacked by one of Dr. Stylish's lackeys, known as Truma. Dr. Stylish then began his attack on the hideout. Lubbock moved out to warn the others but got attacked by one of the weird minions. He used his wires to form a spear and stabbed the deranged creep in the chest. When more of the creeps showed up, Lubbock ran for his life, while they chased after him and moved like demons in a horror movie. Akame jumped out in her pajamas to help him and quickly killed the minions. Then they got confronted by one of Team Stylish's members, known as Toby, who began to duel Akame with blades hidden in his boots and sleeves. On another side, Tatsumi fought with Kaku-san, who wielded Shili's scissor relic. On seeing the relic, Tatsumi rushed to attack blindly, but Kaku-san blocked the attack with his muscles because he never skipped gym day. Meanwhile, Mimi, a girl with ears as big as an elephant, listened to everything that was going on and reported to Dr. Stylish. Mine came to help Tatsumi and got really angry when she saw Shield's relic. She blasted the muscle man to smithereens and avenged her dead comrade. Najenda suddenly showed up with 2 new recruits on an air matter above them. Akame continued to battle Toby, who was a walking mechanical weapon and didn't feel pain anymore. Lubbock then impaled the rusty machine with a spear that he formed with his wires, giving Akame the chance to decapitate him. After that, Truma tried to stab Mine from behind, but Leon saved her. She strangled the fool and he tried to attack with a knife in his boot, but Leon caught it between her teeth and slammed him to the ground. When Lubbock and Akame met up with them, they all got surrounded by Dr. Stylish's minions. Except for Tatsumi, the rest of the squad fell to the ground due to poison from the foot soldiers, which the doctor injected into them. As they talked about the poisons, Dr. Stylish and one of his troops, Hana, displayed a side to them, which showed that they must have been on each other's sausages when others weren't looking. One of the new recruits, Susanoo, dropped down from the manta and began massacring the minions. The doctor detonated his dead minions, but Susanoo just regenerated after taking the damage and revealed that he was a living relic, like Koro. The doctor ran away like a loser when his location was discovered, but Susanoo caught up to them. With no other choice, Stylish injected himself with a chemical that turned him into an ugly beast. To acquire more power, he consumed Hana, Mi, and Mimi. Tatsumi gave Akame a piggyback ride as they rushed to the fight scene. With Susanoo unable to damage the beast, Tatsumi, Akame, and Mine worked together to defeat Stylish's human body inside the beast. The Night Raid members got to the Marg Highlands, where they would be using it as their temporary hideout until they found a new one close to the capital. Najenda then introduced the other new recruit known as Chelsea, who was said to have as many kills as Akame. Susanoo was an Imperial relic who had a severe case of OCD. Apart from being a fighter relic, he had all the skills of a house husband and wife. He quickly built out a new base, washed the clothes, and started cooking a meal. Mine didn't like Chelsea because the girl wasted no time to remind her how her chest was perpendicular to a table. Meanwhile, Esdeath went to comfort Serio, who was sad over the death of Stylish. Wave came to comfort the poor girl as well, but saw that her face was already buried in Esdeath's melons. There was no greater comfort he could have provided that would surpass that. The next day, Susanoo caught a large fish and cooked a delicious meal for them. He indirectly called Najenda a man when he said that she looked like his former master, who was a general. Lubbock was angry that he didn't have the same Riz skills as Susanoo, who stole the spotlight from him. Chelsea then used her relic, Jaya Foundation, to transform into a cat and steal a piece of cake from Mine. She acknowledged that her relic was completely useless in combat, but she enjoyed teasing the flat-chested Mine. Later on, Tatsumi and Leone went into the forest and took out a bunch of ugly-looking dinosaurs that seemed to have escaped the asteroid impact. Leone used her enhanced senses to track down their leader and take him out. After that, Chelsea insulted the Night Raid and said that their dead comrades weren't fit enough to become assassins. At night, Mine convinced Tatsumi and Lubbock to teach Chelsea a lesson for what she said. Lubbock, being the greatest degenerate known to man, told Tatsumi to sneak up on Chelsea while she was taking a bath. Unknown to Tatsumi, Lubbock was using him as a lousy lab rat to find out how angry Chelsea would get when someone peeped at her. Tatsumi got there and was conflicted between whether to get a good look at those melons or just toss the bucket over her head. He got confused when he got there and saw Susanoo, but Chelsea revealed that she used her relic to transform herself. Tatsumi apologized like a filthy peasant and acknowledged what she said about the flaws of Inkursio's invisibility. She then revealed that all of her former teammates got killed recently, making her the only survivor, and this was why she insulted the Night Raid members earlier. She then promised to chop off Tatsumi's only hope of having children if he tried to peep at her again. Meanwhile, Run informed Esdeath about a number of other people who looked like Tatsumi, but she declared that it was only the real Tatsumi who would clap her cheeks. Meanwhile, some miners got attacked by humanoid danger beasts who were set free by a strange person in a hood. The Emperor thanked the Jaegers for eradicating most of the rebels close to the capital and also causing Night Raid to keep a low profile. After that, Honest told Esdeath that her view on love had affected the Emperor, and he planned to swarm the little boy with women and alcohol in some years. He then ordered Esdeath to capture the new humanoid danger beasts that had started appearing around the forests and mines. Later on, Bowles saved 2 merchants who were about to become food for the danger beasts. After they got saved, they thought that Bowles was another monster to be feared, but Seiryu showed up and calmed them down. Wave noticed that the merchants were afraid of Bowles' appearance, but the stupid executioner was just glad that the merchants had calmed down. Esdeath trapped some beasts in her ice, while Kurome proved she was a more dangerous beast by wanting to devour them. Later, Bowles explained that despite his nice personality, he used to be an executioner and burned down many infested villages. He was then visited by his wife and daughter, who brought his lunch and were very aware of his line of work. Wave was surprised that a creepy-looking brute could bag such a beautiful wife. While training with Susanoo, Tatsumi acknowledged him as a comrade rather than a tool, and asked him to help revive his dead Riz skills on the ladies. Akame then summoned them and told them about the danger beats that were wreaking havoc around the capital. At their new hideout, Lubbock's skills were overshadowed by Susanoo, and he warned the relic to watch his back. Najenda informed them about how dangerous the beasts were, and also said that they would be working together with the Empire to eradicate them. Chelsea thought their plan was stupid and mocked them for always trying to play hero. At the same time, Susanoo told Tatsumi to zip up his trousers and stop harassing them with his little man. Akame apologized for not telling him about his trousers earlier, and promised to keep an eye on his sausage in case it was let loose again. Meanwhile, Esdeath and Run realized that the danger beasts were a result of Dr. Stylish's experiments, which meant that the beasts must have escaped with someone's help. Esdeath told Run to further investigate the matter. While patrolling the mountain at night, Tatsumi noticed that Lubbock had an unhealthy obsession with Najenda, and always called her by her name. Lubbock explained that he was a spoiled rich cretin, and he and Najenda had known each other since she was in the Imperial Army. Najenda was assigned to the city where he lived, and he fell in love at first sight. Because of that, he enlisted in the army and worked his way up the ranks. After that, he joined Night Raid because of her, but always got blue-balled since she never bothered about the ugly boy. Tatsumi then went to patrol the summit of the mountain. There he encountered Esdeath, who got the drop on him and was surprised to see him. Some danger beasts appeared, but she quickly killed them and went back to admiring the love of her life. Esdeath quickly smothered Tatsumi, which stopped any chance he had of escaping. She told him that she was exterminating danger beasts and asked what he was doing there, but his brain couldn't think of a good answer because it was being cushioned by her milk jug. He quickly escaped her grasp and said that he was training to become a warrior. Their lovely reunion was interrupted by the honest's son, Sura, who appeared and used his imperial relic, Shambhala, a pendant capable of spatial manipulation, to teleport them to a remote island. Tatsumi asked Esdeath to hurt him so he could make sure that he wasn't dreaming, but she thought that they had the same masochist interests. Rather than hurt him, she planted a kiss and confirmed that they weren't dreaming. She then sprouted an ice pillar to use as a vantage point and get a good view of the island. Their date got interrupted by a giant danger beast that emerged from the sea. With their combined efforts, they took it down, but a second one popped out, and Esdeath squashed it with an ice asteroid. As they rested after the fight, Tatsumi was eating while Esdeath was drawing disturbing images of the both of them. After exploring the island throughout the day, nightfall came, and Esdeath was ready for Tatsumi's seeds once more.
Yeah, boy.
Tatsumi didn't think of a quick response since he was mesmerized by her melons, and the scene quickly changed to a dating sim. She found out that the island was located to the far southeast of the capital. While exploring, they found out that they were teleported by a trigram symbol, but Esdeath didn't want to leave without having Tatsumi take her purity. Esdeath then said that she was from the Paltas clan on the northern border. They were a group of people who hunted danger beasts, and she was the chief's daughter. She was brought up by the principle of survival of the fittest, which explained why she was a problematic crackhead. She lost her clan and father after the northern tribe attacked them. Then she worked her way through the ranks of the Imperial Army and became a general after the tragic incident. Tatsumi asked about her Imperial relic, and she brought his hand to touch the symbol that was in between her melons, where unfortunate losers like you wished their faces were. A few years ago, Esdeath was crazy enough to drink the blood of a danger beast, which was an Imperial relic itself. She was able to withstand the voices in her head and fully control the power of the relic. Tatsumi realized that none of these circumstances brought about her deranged attitude. When Siura's portal reappeared, they passed through and returned to the mountains. Tatsumi used the invisibility of Incursio to keep himself from being detected by Esdeath.